do it. I'm all good.
Mindset Mashup podcast, here we are. Eventually, that's what I will say. For those of you that have been watching my podcast for a while, you know that it's always looks smooth. We've got some nice stuff in the background, but I just want to say this podcast is taking us a little while longer to get here. We'll go into that in a minute, but listen, if you're new here, we just want to welcome you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share. But ultimately, I hope whatever you take from today, you implement it into your life. That's ultimately what this is all about. Learn with me and implement it. And today, I've got a wicked guest, another podcaster, another entrepreneur. Goes by the name of Aaron. Aaron, welcome to the podcast, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate you inviting me on, mate. Looking forward to it. And I know what it's all about. I started off on Zooms myself, so it's a good place to be. It's a good way to meet people without having to do all the traveling in between.
That's what it is. When you're at the moment, I'm at a point where, and I suppose it always will be, where time is an asset, and where I'm still juggling a job and entrepreneurship, I've got to make the most. And I enjoy these conversations, and this allows me to be able to do both. But without going into too much detail, I think the job's going to be coming to an end soon. I can't say too much because in case the employer's listening, but we're getting there. And in the true fashion of entrepreneurship, Aaron, I feel like that little hiccup that we just had, a very small hurdle along the way, it tells me a lot about you. You stay calm, you stay chilled, you're happy to help. There was even a point where you were going to set up the Zoom meeting to host my podcast on, which I appreciate. But I've got to shout out Zoom for sorting out so quickly. But I just really appreciate your time, man. And for those that may not know of you, may not know of your business, would you give us just a short introduction?
Cool. So yeah, I'm Aaron Knightley, and originally and for some while now, I'm the founder of Knightley Investment Group, which is an investment firm that acts as a middleman to clients who want to move money. So that was the bread and butter of where all this started. It started a long time ago in terms of the entrepreneurship journey, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point. But that's kind of the bread and butter. I've tried and done a lot of different things. Some has, some ideas, some business ventures, some things that I've mucked around in, played with, toyed with, tried. Some have worked, some haven't. So I've tried a lot of things. I've ticked off a lot of boxes, which is a part of, I think, any entrepreneur's journey is to go through a stage of ticking off the boxes because there are so many options. Found a few things that worked. Ended up sticking with finance. It suited me. The whole networking, building on a network is paid very well. Then obviously moving on to socials, implementing that, helping people along the way. I'm still very much on my own journey, far from successful or anywhere where I want to be, but enjoying it. Was fully employed, left full-time employment, started a few businesses now, have a few products, author, stuff like that, YouTube, as you said, podcaster, most recently TikToker, a few other things in between, and co-owner of Peak Performance Events, and a new company on the way to be released in the new year, which is exciting. So a few different things, but very much spinning the plates and trying to keep it all afloat.
Well, how would you say, you mentioned spinning the plates, and I've spoken to all sorts of different entrepreneurs now a couple of weeks ago, I had a sort of an author which writes dark poetry, which is about sort of paranormal activity. And I find it all very interesting, but something that comes up quite common on these podcasts is that spinning plates and juggling more than one ball. As an entrepreneur, do you think there could be any misconceptions about that, which could be a helpful insight to someone listening?
I think we hold on to a lot of old terminology. So I think we're really, obviously we use that word quite a lot. I mean, my God, I say it a lot, entrepreneur, I get, and I say it in different ways sometimes. I say entrepreneur, you say it, we say it in so many different ways. Really, it's a creative individual who can't normally sit still, has a lot of brain power, is always thinking, is always on the go, and it's then obviously channeling that. There's similar traits. It's very close from criminals to entrepreneurs, and I think the only difference is that some are guided, some are in the right networks, and some aren't. A criminal can make money out of nothing, And I think it's very much the same for people who go down an entrepreneurial journey. So I think spinning multiple plates is a constant self-improvement, self-development act that we're always going through. And it's never going to be right because plates will fall off and it is hard to do. But I think you work out very quickly who really wants it and who doesn't, because it's testing from day one. Like, it's not testing day 2 or month 3 or month 4 or a year later. It's testing from day one. If you're really going into it, not half-hearted. And I think for anyone that is within the circle of entrepreneurship, is that you soon learn that you can have a support network, but the most important person is you. That is the most important individual that's going to see all of this through. And I'm always learning new strengths that I've got. Very thick skin. I'm able to get back up on the horse. It's a huge mental thing. It's really mindset stuff. So yeah, spinning plates is just a part of it, but I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest.
And I completely agree. I've had someone on here talk about how often people associate entrepreneurship with a sort of, they're all about money, and all about sort of freedom. But actually, too much freedom for an entrepreneur is probably their worst nightmare, because I know myself, sitting around a beach doing nothing is that doesn't fulfill me at all, to be honest.
No, I actually had a conversation as I was getting my barnet chopped earlier. Is that someone said, "Oh, you're not fancy going to Dubai? You'd love it." And I've never really been interested because I'm very much a big believer in momentum. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone has different needs and satisfactions and materialistic things and rewards and stuff like that. And I've always, because of my background, I am very humble. I am very grounded. As I am now, I'll be face to face. If I had nothing, I'm going to be the same as I am now. If I had 100 million in a bank, I know that I'd be exactly the same as I am now. I do not change. I do not fluctuate in who I am. So
Where do you think that's come from?
just my background.
Explain that.
I come from a very lower working class, didn't have a lot, came from a council estate, went down a very wrong path. I was a very different individual 11 years ago, 11 years ago. Used to get in a lot of trouble. I could have gone down a very different path. I had a very different background. When I had my son, that's when it changed. And for me, I've never suffered from anxiety or depression, thankfully. I do have very thick skin. I've adopted my dad's ability to switch off in terms of when I need to cut emotion, I can go emotionless. I can cut people very quickly. So I've never, I can have it all going on, but I can detach. I'm not addicted or in comparison with anyone on social media. I don't feel the need to go to Dubai. I don't feel the need to buy a Rolex. I don't feel the need to do this. I don't feel the need to do this, because I'd rather keep momentum high, because I have a bigger reason than money. And a massive changing point for me was when I had my son, when you realize that there is something bigger than you in the world. And if we actually just take a wider angle and a wider view at the economy and what's going on, it's not going to be the best place in 20 years' time. It's going to be very hard. So if you do have children, you do need to start thinking about them and how life might be when they're a little bit older. And that's been a big focus for me, is more of, can I just give him comfort and opportunity and options and private medical care when he's older? And that is probably one of the biggest drivers in order to turn around and say, I'm going to work today, or I'm going to get up late and do that, opposed to just saying, oh, I need to pay the finance and the Mercedes at the end of the month. That's not a drive. You see?
What about, because I totally get that, and I'm just want to sort of play another angle. So where do you stand on, because you said you come from humble beginnings, if you like, you've experienced sort of different cults, like subcultures of society, and that's made you who you are today. Do you ever worry that you could provide too much to your son?
Yeah, well, oh no. So in that, no. So he's he's very grounded. So in terms of, he's not spoiled by any means. He has to work for things. Like, he learns all about finance,
How old is he?
he's sitting opposite me now. He's 9. He's very grounded as well.
Yeah.
He appreciates very small things, and that's the way that we keep it. But we also enjoy certain things. But in terms of materialistic things, we actually, my family and I, we don't live like that. Like, me and my wife and my son, we actually live very humbly. We don't go out and buy materialistic things. So I think in doing that, it allows you to go that much faster in other areas, like investments, like savings, like building a business. Peak performance events, we're documenting all the behind the scenes and what's happening. That we're documenting that, going from zero, no money in a business, to having Alan Sugar in the background in that business, to turning that into £1 million company. That's only one of the companies that will be the umbrella of many subsidiaries. So we're going to show everyone how you can take a company from zero to £1 million turnover, and that's growing rapidly. So it's just about, if you focus and you surround yourself with good people, and you are that individual that doesn't switch off on a Friday, because let's face it, momentum's high on a Friday. Why would you turn off for the Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
That's why I don't feel the need to go to Dubai for 4 weeks, because when you're in the prime of momentum, certainly when we look at the angle of TikTok, for me, momentum is high on TikTok, and the possibility of TikTok is huge, like huge. So you really have to capitalize on things going well in your life, and to turn around and stop and go, I'm going to celebrate this weekend. I'm going to go out with the lads or the girls and have a few drinks and stuff like that, because I think I've done all right this week. Yes, to some degree, but at the same time, if momentum's high, keep it going for as long as you can.
I
That's
think that,
my belief.
and I think there's a lot to say in that. And I said in a podcast a few weeks ago, which seemed to get along quite well on TikTok, I spoke about entrepreneurship has really taught me who I am in both failure and success, because who you become in the midst of success and celebration can also tell you a lot about you in those moments, and I completely relate to where you're coming from. Momentum, for me, I get so much joy out of that. I get so, when you're on in that momentum and you're in that zone, I just feel, I feel unstoppable in those moments.
Yeah, and
And
you need to capitalize on those moments.
yeah, because they don't last. Like, and this, I'm someone who, I'm very disciplined, I'm very motivated, but they don't last. Those momentum, you can regain it, but something happens.
It's like running. Everyone can walk around a block. You know, everyone can jog or run around a block. Not everyone can do a marathon. Not everyone can do an Ironman. You have to build up to these things, and momentum for me is a friend of mine, Simon Leslie. He done extremely well. He's worth over 150 million. Good friends with his son, and he turned around, and it's always stuck with me when he said this. Honestly, I tell this to everyone. It's really stuck with me, and it's just, honestly, I'm so glad he said it to me. And I'll tell you something else that he sent me a message. I'll actually read it out. Is He said, "Why on earth would anyone go slow nowadays?" And obviously, when he elaborated, I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "There's too much opportunity to grow quick, to build a business quick, to learn, to develop, to self-educate. So why would you turn around and say, oh, I'll wait till Monday morning, or
Mm.
I'll wait to the weekend? Why would you wait? So that's why when you look at your time management of a day, you really need to be looking at it going, right, am I doing the priority tasks first? Am I getting done the things that will generate new income? Am I replying to the most important people in my network? Am I making the phone calls? And instead of pretending like you're a busy entrepreneur thinking, oh, I'm going to spread it out over 3-4 days because that makes me feel good that I've got something to do every day. And no, what I would do is I'd just swap that and just cram that into a smart period during the day. And that's true. You can grow too quick on TikTok. I've got friends earning 40, 50,000, 60,000 a month. That's not a joke. I've got friends that are earning 40, 50,000 pounds a month on TikTok alone. That's not then taking in consideration brand, collaboration, filtering off onto different areas, businesses that can be built, monetization in different areas. That, smell the leather, go to a Porsche showroom, sit in the Porsche and actually smell what could be, and then put a plan into place, because we can grow too quick. And I'll read this out to you. I've got this lovely message. This is actually, I was going through a bit of a downtime in terms of, I had a few deals fall through, business was tough. And I got this message from a very successful individual who's very close in my network. And I just got this message through it. It came at the right time. Hi, Aaron, just to let you know, I've been watching you grow. You've been using better language. You're ordering against what you want and you're delivering against it. Just remember, only those who go too far know how far they can go.
Ooh,
And I thought,
that's nice.
that was weird how I needed that. And that just reminded me all those times where I'm sitting there and I'm working late. And I've always been that guy that when I was fully employed, I'd come home from work, which was late, or days that I was off, I'd work. I'd stay out with my family. I'd play with my little boys running about now. And then when they've all gone to sleep, I'd watch Netflix. I'd do all the family stuff. And then I'd get back up. I'd come downstairs and I open up my laptop and I work for another 3-4 hours. Not many people are willing to do that. So, and that just reminded me when he said, only those who go too far know how far they can go. And I just thought, I'm that individual that will comfortably drive around in the Mercedes, worry-free. So I just, little things like that. That's how your network taps in. So
yeah, I agree.
That message, I got that at the right time. And having a network around you also plays a massive part in entrepreneurship. It's just massive.
You spoke about plates a lot, and as we've just spoke for that period of time there, I felt like you touched on something that resonates deeply with me, which is the inward work before you begin the outward work. And
Massively.
every skill you spoke about then it's almost nothing related to business, but it's exactly what a good businessman needs. And yeah, go on. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, front end work. It's all front loaded. That's the hardest part about all of this. I actually said this to my wife the other day. Bless her. She turned around and she was asking, because I'm sure maybe we'll touch on TikTok shortly, but there's a lot of time and effort that's gone into TikTok, and everything to do with business or entrepreneurship. Everything is front end loaded. You don't get away from it. You need to know that you've got to put in 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Might be longer. It might be longer. But the back end will pay out quicker than it would in a normal 9 to 5. Yeah. So you can get paid on the regular in a 9 to 5 and it'll be consistent. There's still not maximum control. You're still not in full control. It's still high risk, believe it or not, working in a full-time employment. That's where this delusion is that full-time employment during Christmas periods, which when people say, during times like this in the Christmas period when things are expensive and blah, 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 means diddly squat. You have less control in a full-time job than you do having working for yourself. Caveat and counter to that, some people would say, yeah, but it's a bigger risk to run your own business. No, it's not, because business and entrepreneurship is results driven. If you're a hard worker, you're consistent, you don't give up, you're going to have great results. So it's not, I'm not going to fire myself.
And also, we all know people that have worked hard in full-time employment and are earning minimum wage. Like I think we all know someone like that.
Look, I've never understood it. It's old school mentality. And this is big mission for me on my lives, my TikTok, the message that I'm spreading is that when someone turns around and says, oh, I've been in my job 30 years. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I wouldn't go around telling people that means 30 years of no growth. Yeah, but I've had 4 promotions. Yeah, which was the net equivalent to £7,500. Yeah, but I went from 20 to 45,000. Yes, gross, not net. So, there is more control and more flexibility and more opportunity in being reliant on yourself to do well.
I completely agree. And another thing, as you were talking about then, we're using currency as a measure here. And actually, there's another currency like self-development, growth, that maybe your company's not offering you, like, maybe does satisfaction come into that pay rise? Like, I understand, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying money isn't important. Of course we should be going after money, of course we need to be earning as much as possible, but actually there's other measures. You've been in the job for 30 years, and if you feel like you haven't grown as a person, then that that to me, and I've seen that, like, I've actually seen that in employment. I've been in full-time employment for the last, God knows, it's probably since 2013 now. And I've seen people that have been there 20, 30 years, and I'll go in and I'll spend 2, 3, 4 years there, and they say the same thing day after day after day. And
Yeah.
then you put it on them, and then they come up, oh, I've had pay rise, I've had this. And I feel like they use that as a justification for suffocating their own dreams.
It's baby boomers.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You know, look at my biggest video on TikTok. Nearly 18 million it'll probably be by end of next week. And all the comments that are more so disagreeing, they're all baby boomers. And I call them all out because they're envious, they're jealous, they're regretful, they're annoyed at the opportunity that they've got to their 40s, 50s, and 60s, working 60, 70-hour weeks, 52 weeks of every year. That's a lot of time that they're losing out. So yes, they're annoyed when they see people in their 20s and early 30s only working 4 or 5 hours, earning the same equivalent money that they might have been earning in a year, that they might be earning in a month. Yes, it's a reality, but it is front end loaded work that needs to be done. That's why I always say to people, do what I did, work as hard as you can outside of your full-time job. Go in, do your contracted hours, get your head down, block everyone on social media, don't say a fucking dicky bird, go home, work hard, get to a stage where it matches your income, build up a great 3, 4, 6 month emergency fund, and then start looking at options on how, if you want to go full-time in entrepreneurship, if not, and you're happy at balancing them. You know, side note, I loved my last full-time job. I just didn't like the way people were being treated, and I didn't need to put up with it anymore. I didn't need to. I was not in a position where I had to, and I didn't. So I chose to leave because it was the right time for me. So, but you need to do that. That's hard work.
I think we just need to put, I don't want to use, I was going to use the word disclaimer then, but I'm not into disclaimers because the whole reason why I'm up for free talking, and that's what we're allowed to do. So that's what we're going to do here. We're not saying that full-time work is, you shouldn't be doing it. But in my head, I think if you have a dream that doesn't involve full-time work, you should be thinking as hard as you can. Start with the inward work, then start working outward. Do what you need to do to get out of it as quick as you can.
Let me put it like this, right? This is categorically a fact. Right? There isn't any argument to this.
Go on.
Every single person that is in full-time work, I'm going to address parents first. If I was to say, in a room full of thousands and thousands of people that are in full-time employment, who's a parent? Everyone puts their hand up. Would you, or what would you not love to spend as much time, valuable time, watching your children? You know, parents who love their children are generally good parents. We've got all types of parents out there.
Yeah.
But parents who love their children, my only goal in life, me personally, is to spend every single day with that little 9-year-old boy who's in the kitchen at the moment. Every single day. That's my only goal. Now, it should be the same for every other parent, because when you're a parent, it becomes, you know, life is so much bigger than you. It becomes about that child. Therefore, if you can buy time back, why would you want to go and spend 40, 50, 60 hours away from your house in a location with people that don't care about you and you don't really care about them, that would stab you in the back, and to an employer who you're essentially building their business to spend time away from your family 52 weeks of every year? It doesn't make sense. And for the parents that turn around and say, but I love my job and I'm so passionate about it, that's because there's a lack of education and a lack of smelling the leather to the possibility of what businesses in the 21st century can bring from the comfort of a phone or of a laptop at your home if you build the correct business. But people think of businesses, warehouses, employees, printers, cars, vehicles, you know, excess money going out, really hard to start, huge amounts of stress, anxiety, and depression. It's not. I have very little depression walking around at my own leisure, as I did today, closing off deals on my phone. There was no stress with that. That's
Yeah.
the possibility. I'm not doing anything special. That's a possibility for everyone. That's a
And I
fact.
think, and I get annoyed when I hear this age excuse because there's no excuse. Like there's people 40, 50 years old just starting off and are
Yeah,
doing really good. So I don't like that. And I think the system that's been created, it is outdated and and I think it is down. And like people might want to say stuff on your TikTok video about you, but at the end of the day, if we're not going to call this out, then who is?
yeah,
And it does need to be said. It does need to be addressed. And the people that want to stay in work will stay in work. But the people that don't, it might just be the motivation they need to have insightful dialogue, which is only positive for society to go out there and do something with themselves.
yeah. But also looking at the fact of look, and I'll back you in saying, to anyone listening, as I say in my own videos, I'm not hating on anyone that's employed. I was
Yeah.
employed for nearly 10 years of my life, so I'm not hating on that either. But there is a huge possibility in today's day and age. We are not in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s anymore. Earning 10 to 20,000 pounds a month is very realistic. It is
It's actually too realistic. And
very realistic.
going back to what you said earlier as well, I just want to what was that thing that you said about slow? Why would you go slow?
Why would you
I,
go slow?
I just want to say that you're not saying that you should go fast, but what you're saying is that you shouldn't slow down. Like you shouldn't slow down for the weekends. Is that am I right? Am I right saying that?
Yeah, it just when momentum's high, like I'm just saying, take action
Yeah,
on it. But
yeah.
then let's not get it wrong. There are people out there to make any business work nowadays is sales and marketing. So if you're good at sales and you're good at marketing, because if you're going to start a business now, I would always recommend that it's online and that you can serve the mass. Because if COVID taught us anything, we do need to be able to pivot and adapt online to continue selling or marketing, whatever it is your business is. And, in order to do that, you need to be able to communicate, public speaking, sales, just good communication and a good marketing strategy. Not everyone can do that, but you can learn how to do that. I mean, my God, the amount of Audible books that I've listened to, it was a massive game changer for me because I was listening on the move. And again, leverage of time. Like, who has time to get home from work, open up a book and read on an armchair?
So
Who
let's
has
speak
time?
about yeah, 100%. Audible, shout out. Like I absolutely love it. Podcast. I put a picture up, a video up on my Instagram the other day, and I spoke about how I was literally there was a point in my life where I wasn't on any side hustles. But I had that vision that's what I wanted to do. I was
Yeah,
genuinely treating podcasts and audiobooks like fucking lectures. I was
yeah.
writing notes. I was implementing. But I want to come back. That I wanted to move on. It didn't want that bit to be about me, but I wanted to ask you something. Uh, because I think this might be quite insightful. You have had a video that is going to be, but it will reach 20 million. It will reach 20
Oh,
million.
man. Yeah, yeah, easy.
And that's pretty sensational. And I also noticed that you've reached over a million more than once as well.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, you spoke about audiobooks. Did you ever think you could do that?
No, and this is the really funny thing is that I don't really think many people know where their life's going to end up. Like, you don't predict it, but the difference is, as long as you're consistent, something's going to happen. And as long as it's consistency in a good way, something's going to end up as a result. If you do bad things for a long time, you're going to end up in the nick.
Yeah.
If you're gonna carry on doing good things and carry on trying and trying and trying, it will happen. But everyone crosses the line at a different time, right? And then that line just gets extended, but not in a million years. But then I never thought TikTok would open up so many doors. And going back to taking action, which is a massive part. I have a lot of consultations during the week. I do one-to-ones, and I can smell and sense when someone will join a call, whether they're going to do what I say or not. That's why I don't offer mentorship. I only offer consultations because I'm not going to be responsible for someone to whether they go and do it or not. I'll tell them what they need to know. But the reason I don't go into mentorship and courses and anything like that is because then then the onus is on you almost. And you can tell when people won't take action. And that's fine. That's their that's their motive, that's the way it's panned out for them, that's their feeling, whatever it might be. But taking action, and just as a prime example, when you hit above 50K on TikTok, and I'm still learning like every day because I'm getting access to all different things and stuff like that. And I'm having people reach out to me, and I've got a good network of people who are in like influencing agencies and stuff. So I can tap into pretty cool people. But as soon as you go above 50K on TikTok, you become very valuable to brands. 10K, you are valuable, but then there's something called, I can't remember what it's called. It's like minute, minor, and major, as in terms of like your value to brands. So I'm kind of in that minor area. When you go above 100K and beyond, you're like major. And what I realized very quickly is that I've got to capitalize on this. So I literally spoke to Mama, still got it, huge on TikTok and Instagram. I spoke with a few other big TikTokers who were like million plus, and I was like, look, I want to start going after brands. I'm being told just to go after them. Is that what you think as well? And they're like, yeah, and it goes back to, if you want a job, you don't wait for the interview to come to you, do you?
Yeah.
You go get the job interview. And literally I hired a VA. She's been doing brilliantly. She works every single day. And I open up my inquiries email that I've got here, and she's just been banging out emails all day. And I've had 3 verified big companies on Instagram who I really wanted to work with. 2, I've already had the Zoom call, and 2 contracts offered to me. 1 I've got tomorrow at 10:15. Super exciting. That didn't just happen. I went fast. I took action. I hired a VA. I said, look, I put a template email. I said, can you do this? Contact all these people. And again, just a little bit of an insight to my plan over these next 6 weeks. I gave her a long list of 30 of the biggest podcasts in the UK. I'm booked onto 6 of them already over the next 2 weeks.
Nice.
The rest will keep coming through, because now it's time to get on every screen possible. And this is what's going to happen over the next 8 to 10 weeks. I'm going to end up on as many podcasts as I can. Why would I go slow? Do you see what I mean? Oh, well, it's coming up to Christmas. I've got to have December off. I work really hard in November so I can have December off. Great. I'm doubling down.
Yeah.
Literally,
100%.
the way I see it.
I think we should always be doubling. I think we should always be doubling down. If I'm being honest, I think I think that's I think the times where you want to take your foot off the pedal is the times that you should be doubling down. I genuinely believe that with all my heart.
Yeah, it is. And also, the biggest part and the biggest strides to making good money, but also being inspired to create new things, because it's hard to stay inspired and motivated. Like, I believe motivated is a bit of a made up word.
Yeah, same.
Because, it's just about routine and discipline. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You either get out of bed or you don't. And, but what does make it easier is being around really good people. I say this a lot. It's very open. Most people who have worked with me or have followed me for a long time, or, follow my stories, I'm working with some of the richest people in the UK. People who have made hundreds of millions. I'm not talking 10 million. They bought 1 Lambo and they're on Instagram and, they're riding around. They go to Dubai and buy another Lambo. I'm talking hundreds of millions, and I'm covered in tattoos. So we're not talking about the 10, 20, 30 million, or even a million. They've made 2, 3 million. I'm talking over 150 million in the bank. Okay. That gives me a very good insight to what could be with longevity into something that you're really passionate about. So I'm not bothered about looking at the 2, 3 million. I'm happy to think of myself as a 56-year-old man with 20, 30 million in the bank. That's where I'm at of my mentality. Whether I achieve that or not is another thing. But what I will do is I will follow a process in order to get to as close as I can. So when you're around really good people, my business partner for peak performance, in a million years, did we think we'd have Alan Sugar on board?
Tell us about that. Like how did that come about?
Well, that came about as, peak performance started to grow pretty quick. We were offered sponsorship left, right, and center. I've got I'm friends with some of, obviously, Alan Sugar's business partners already. I've got some ties into Alan Sugar and stuff like that. So there was already sort of an external connection. And obviously we grew very quickly. We got in front of the right eyes. Certain people were invited to the event. They loved it. They reported back to him and mentioned about the event. Due to the event space, we needed to get trademarks. So one of his law firms trademarked us globally. There was some ins and outs there. And then he came on board. We're filming with him in January again. So he done us some good videos, mentioning that he's on board and blah, blah, blah. And then we're back up. We're going to be filming with him in January. That screams credibility.
What would
So
you?
go on.
No, go on, go on.
No, I was just going to say, so that opens up doors. And what I was going to say, what I was saying before, is that I introduced my business partner to a very good friend of mine who's always been there for many different reasons. He's helped me out with a lot of things. He runs a company of over 200 employees. It turns over 200 million a year. He's done very well. We spent a few hours with him in his London office, and we're going back up in the next couple of weeks. It's a very different pond or kettle of fish when you are rubbing shoulders with a millionaire who's got £1 million. They made it on Instagram. They're driving in a Lambo, to going and sitting down with someone who's had every car on the planet, has houses all around the world, and is in very high connections in London. It's a different eye opener. And I know all different types, but the top is a different eye opener.
How important would you say exposure is to people? Because you're now exposed in situations. So I suppose I can ask you, how do you think exposure has changed the way that you look at life?
Massively. I spent most of my life being a skinhead. I'm covered in tattoos. I've got tattoos all over my body, my back. I lived a very different lifestyle, but so it did change me. Even the way that I spoke. I never did this whole still and my G, and I never did all that crap, but I did speak very different. And there are a lot of people, and when people say to me, or young lads and stuff like that, and they are talking in all this slang, I say to them, you need to cut it out. Yeah, but that's the way that I talk. That's my, my bros talk like that. Yeah, but you need to cut it out, because believe me, you are not stepping into any decent room having that chat, and you're going to do some serious business, or you're going to do some seriously great things if you're not willing to put on a different hat at certain times. If you want to do that when you are with the lads and you're out and about and stuff, like, fine. But when you're willing to go into these rooms because you want to expand your network, because you want to rub shoulders with bigger fish, you are going to need to wear different hats. And the people that turn and say, well, I'm not changing for anyone. I was born this way. I talk like this. I don't give a crap. If I can't call someone who's worth 100 million my G and stuff like this, and fine. But I don't want to know about it. Don't moan that you weren't able to go to the next level of growth.
I think the message there could be, yeah, if you shouldn't close anything off before. Yeah, you shouldn't close anything off. That's what I believe.
It does close doors off. That's what I mean. Look, I used to hang around with people that used to talk very different. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it will close doors.
Yeah.
If you want to open up new doors, and also it's only a good thing. I went from talking a certain way. There's no way I could go to certain rooms now and talk in a way that is limiting. So if you have to be very adaptable, and you can't be the person that goes, I'm not changing for no one. Well, it's going to be very short-lived, and you are limited to what you can do.
And the thing is, the truth of it is, you're not changing is the wrong word. You're staying the same. Like, no, you're right. You're not changing. You're staying the same. That's a better terminology, because that's the ultimate stagnation for me personally, I think that's failure. I think stagnating is the ultimate failure.
Aaron, you don't come around anymore. Aaron, why aren't you meeting up with us anymore? Aaron, you've changed. No, I haven't changed. It's just that you have remained the same.
Yeah, facts.
It's just that I've wanted more for my family. I've had a son. I want to. I don't want to live around there anymore. Yeah, well, blah blah. What it is it's revealing a bit of an insecurity and a bit of low self-esteem, where other people think, oh fucking hell, only if I'd have moved when he'd have moved. If I'd have done, I said to a young lad, I said to a young lad earlier, he was asking me about TikTok. He'd seen me on TikTok when I was getting my hair cut. He was in the barbers, and he said, oh, I saw your video. And he was talking about it. He said, oh, I've opened up a TikTok and stuff like this. And he said, but I've got a lot of friends that are asking to do this, and they want me to go out and stuff like this. I said, so this is almost like your first test. Can you say no to it?
Yeah.
Because in order to say no, is the first step of you actually making strides, getting your head down and doing something. And don't look for validation. Do you know, so many people are quick, and believe me, I've been there, where you've done something and you want to tell people about it. Don't look for that false validation. Be happy that you've done it. Tell your close, loved ones. But too many people are like, oh, I've just done this, and they want to tell people about it. But that's almost like a bit of bad karma. Just remain humble within what you're doing and let it maybe come out organically over 12, 18 months, a few years, to where people they can't avoid it anyway, because it's all on show. It's there, you've done it. You know what I mean?
100%. And I think saying no as an entrepreneur is something that's not spoken about enough, to be honest with you. I think as entrepreneurs, we've got that juggling all these different plates, doing all these different things. And I've literally, when I say this, I learned this year. Like that saying no, it could just get you closer to that one yes that you need. That one yes. But I was too busy saying yes to too many things. And I wasn't getting the opportunities that were required. And now I'm a little
Yeah.
bit more what's the word? I'm a little bit more cautious about who
Yeah.
I'm saying yes and who I'm saying no to.
Because, and why is that? Because time is the most precious asset.
Yeah,
Time is so valuable. So many people say, Aaron, do you want to meet up for a coffee when you're in London? Shall we do this? Shall we sit down and have a chat? Even old friends of mine still say, shall I have a chat? I don't, because I know what the conversation is going to be. Oh, you never guess what so and so, and it's
yeah.
gossip, or it's this and that. And the thing is, you really have to turn around and, I use this a lot, return on time invested. If you're putting in time, what are you getting back for it?
Well, you got two things. You got time and energy, and they both interlink. And if the time is like, if you look at it like a battery, if you go and spend a bit of time with someone and they're draining that battery, what do you think is going to happen when you leave that conversation? You're now operating at 60% when you're operating at 100%. You just lost a 40% of your charge having some rubbish conversation with someone, and then who's going to get the rest of that 60%? The family, the business, and stuff like that. And this is a problem.
That's the thing. And this journey is tiring. It's exciting and it's fulfilling, but it is tiring. So you need to understand these pockets, or excuse the pun, but like, we started peak performance, but also you need to understand your peak performance timing. And for me, it's, I'm at my best between 8 and half 11. So I always say to people, a lot of people say, oh, you talk about this peak performance, or like, I'm trying to understand when I'm at my best and when I should be working on my things. And I always turn around to people and say, when do you feel most comfortable to sell? Like, when could you sell
It's
to
good.
someone?
That's
Because
good.
that's kind of understanding your body clock. When could you go into a room or knock on a door and sell to someone? And if you turn around and say, oh, I'd rather do it like mid-morning,
That's
bosh,
your time.
time. So that's when you need to be prospecting. That's when you need to be generating leads. Which, LinkedIn for any type of business that is lead generational and stuff like that is massive for. So you need to pick these pockets of energy. Hence why I say no to a lot of coffees, because again, when most time of coffee, when people want to meet up, mid-morning,
It's during your peak performance.
it's during my focus time. So yeah, time management, big part of all of this.
Aaron, we're close to wrapping up, and I want to ask a couple more questions that
I
have
got,
just
I
come.
got, I got time as well. So you ask away.
It's and this has gone on longer than this has gone on longer than a lot of the podcast series and a lot of other podcast episodes that I've had. But I really hope, because we haven't focused so much on one particular subject, but I think that's the beauty of this conversation that we've just had, because actually we've covered so much in such a little space of time. And I think some of the areas that we covered, I'm hoping people hear the message. And I'm wondering if you were to give someone a summary right now of, let's just say, 2 to 3 areas that you and I have spoken about today, what do you think someone should go away and implement off the back of this conversation?
I think realizing opportunity is huge. So it's not opportunity and more income and the prospect of having something bigger than what you already have isn't set for silver spoons or people from, it could be from people from single parents, council estate, gangs, leaving prison, it's literally up for the taking for everyone. No one asks to know if you've got a criminal record in entrepreneurship. There is no entry level. Entry level is just starting. So I would say opportunity is huge, especially through learning sales and marketing. I would say for anyone in full-time work is that if you love it, great. I loved my previous job, just didn't like what was going on,
The systems.
the corruption side of the system, and the lack of respect for people as human beings. I would say that building something alongside your full-time job is possible, and there aren't really excuses. If you're making excuses, it's because you're not wanting it enough. And if you're going to use social media, I would say just be the creator. Never, ever, ever be the consumer that goes through seeking validation and is in a state of comparison their whole life. And social media can be great if you use it to monetize, but if you're using it to watch other people and where they're at, which a lot of it is false, it's going to play with your mental nerve system, anxiety, depression. So
It alters your peak performance. Like we spoke a lot about peak performance, and
yeah,
I love that word. I spent a lot of time finding that out about myself, and I truly believe we spoke about exposure earlier on, and to bring that in, what we expose ourselves to and what we consume will definitely interfere with how we engage with our peak performance, and peak performance is what is required to succeed, and that
yeah,
I think that's period.
you need the time, you need the energy, and you need. I would say the biggest thing, the biggest thing, if anyone's going to take anything away, is the big hard hitter, is just self-belief. Because
Yeah.
honestly, family members, friends, everyone, it's very generic. You hear people say this, but people will turn around and go, but what if it doesn't work? What's plan B? I've had very close, I won't say who they are, but I've had family members say to me, but what's plan B? I say, there isn't a plan B.
No.
There
And
isn't a plan B, because then plan A don't work.
it's so I don't. And you know the funny thing is that the only reason why plan B exists is I believe is a lot of the time we've taken risks. When your kids learn how to walk, you don't look at your wife or look at your partner and go, what's plan B if they don't work? It doesn't even come into your mind when you don't get an interview, or when you go to an interview, no one goes, what's plan B if you don't get it? You don't need to. You're just going to keep going. You're just going to keep getting it. It only matters when it's to do with this sector specifically.
Yeah. Let me tell you something big as well. Help, asking for help. If you're an entrepreneur that is struggling, the biggest and the worst thing to do is go into your own hibernation.
Yeah.
The biggest way to overcome that hurdle is just hold your hand up and
Exposure.
say someone in business who's already there, and just say, mate, I'm struggling. I'm struggling. Because I guarantee you, they'll push you through. If you ask the right person, they'll push you through. Whereas if you to do that in the corporate world and say, look, I can't keep up with the job, blah, 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 HR get involved, you're an investigation, the manager thinks you're a pain in the arse, you become the whining one or whatever it might be. But in entrepreneurship, if you're struggling, deals are falling through, you're losing money, you put your hand up and you admit you're finding it hard. And out of nowhere, Archangel comes down and all of a sudden you're back on your feet. That doesn't happen in the corporate world. That does happen in the entrepreneurship
Yeah.
world.
I like that. And just on a sort of personal note, what do you I say personal note, this is for everyone. What would you say is one of the most insightful lessons you've learned from Alan Sugar?
Oh well, I mean, from him personally, I haven't spent that. I haven't really had that quality time. But I know people that have. But I know that his son went to buy, a Porsche, where he bought a Porsche, um, under Alan Sugar's funds, and Alan Sugar sent it straight back and absolutely bollocked his son, saying, "What on earth are you doing buying a Porsche? You haven't earned it." So he has the one thing I like about him. I mean, what I would say about money, from people that have who do have money that I've worked with, what it does allow you to do, you don't have to put up with shit anymore. In the corporate world, people don't want to speak up because they're in fear of their jobs, and then they don't want eyes on them, like a little bit of a black mark, like, oh, HR are watching me. If you have money, you don't have to put up with shit. You can park on a double yellow because it's convenient. You can pay a ticket, it doesn't matter, it's
Yeah.
convenient. You have private medical care. So in the result of money, you don't have to put up with shit anymore. That is one of the benefits.
What would you, as we bring this to a close, what would be the last piece that you want to leave someone with?
Uh, I would just say, like Jim Rohn said, formal education will make you a living. But self-education is the answer to all fulfillment, because you're solely responsible. And for the individuals that turn around and say that they can't do self-education, it's because they're not willing. They're
Yeah,
not up to it.
yeah,
So self-education is the biggest game changer, because you're at your own mercy. You can go quick or you can go slow. You can listen to a book quick on 1.5 or 2 speed, or you can listen to it on 0.5. It's up to you. But self-education will be the result of success in the end. I truly believe that.
I agree. And where can people find you, Aaron?
So I mean, look, www.aaronknightley.co.uk, TikTok Aaron Knightley, Instagram Aaron Knightley official, Aaron Knightley on YouTube. So Aaron Knightley on Google, whatever it might be. And then I'm open to everyone. I answer to absolutely everyone. It's literally, I'm there for value and to give the sort of the no BS side of it. I'm not here flashing a Rolex, driving a fancy car or anything like that. It's just literally in my own lane.
Love that, man. And I'm going to put all the stuff in the description for people so they know where to find you. But listen, if you're still here, again, remember what I said at the first part of the podcast. Implement something. If you take one single thing away from this conversation, implement it, you'll be a little bit further than where you already are. And that's what these podcasts are all about. If you're still here, again, thank you for your time. We went top 200 in the UK. We're currently running a new series called 5 Minutes With. So I'd advise you to go and watch that with some of the biggest names in the UK right now. Go check out Aaron, go follow him, go sub. You know what to do. Just do something helpful, man. We're all out here. We're hustling. We're on the grind. Again, listen, I love you. I appreciate all your time. But for now, we'll see you next time. God bless. Let's go.